Yeah. Okay, so good morning, everybody. We're holding in the middle of this chapter 4 of Shar B'Tachan. I want to try to talk about Purim a little bit, according to Kabbalah, according to Chassidus, and maybe connect it over here a little bit with what he's talking about over here. Holding on page, what number remember?
123.
Page 7, okay.
The third paragraph.
Third paragraph. Wow, you remember, you're not bad. No, we're holding on page 8, the beginning of page 8. Partnership with God, that's what we're holding, right, correct. Okay. Good morning, wonderful week this week, the week of Purim, which is the week of great celebration for Am Yisrael and Nahapachu, a time of transformation with the Jewish nation, connected to the Simcha of Purim, and especially connected to Megillas Esther, the Megillah that we read on Purim by night, on Wednesday by night, and by Thursday by morning. So Chassidus has a lot to talk about on this concept, the concept of Purim, and the way that the Gemara says, the Talmud says, that the Megillah says, that the holiday of Purim will never ever go away from the Jewish nation. That it'll be part of the Jewish nation forever and ever. Even after Mashiach comes and the rest of the prophets and the writings might be put to, so to say, aside. But the holiday of Purim, Megillah Esther, will continue to read the Megillah of Esther every single year. So what is so special about Megillah Esther? What is so special about it that the holiday of Purim and this Megillah is something that we're going to basically be part of will be forever and ever, even after we'll go out of Golus and there'll be concept of a Haman and a Mordechai, etc., etc. So Chassidus explains that Purim is connected to another great happening in the Jewish nation, and that was Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. You don't have it in front of you, and the Jewish people accepted. They took upon themselves what they began to do. And the Gemara says, what does the Megillah mean that the Jewish people took upon themselves what they began to do? And the Gemara answers, they took upon themselves what they began to do on Matan Torah. That means on Matan Torah, they began to do it. And on Purim, they actually ultimately did it. And what does that mean? That means they accepted upon themselves the kingship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the kingship of God, the sovereignty of God's, that God is the sovereignty of the Yidden self, of the Jewish world, of the world at large, and took them thousands of years because Purim happened a couple of thousand years after Matan Torah, after the giving of the Torah. The Rebbe, the famous Maimon, the previous Lubavitch Rebbe, on this statement of this word, that the Jewish people accepted of themselves what they began. The Rebbe says, when is this statement said? If you know the Megillah, you'll hear it on Wednesday night. When was this statement said? This statement was said after the miracle happened in the story of the Megillah. That means there are 3 times in history. There is Matan Torah, when they accepted themselves Nasav and Nishma. There is the time of Haman, which was a very pressure time in the Jewish nation. And then there's a time of after the miracle, the holiday of Purim. 3 different times in the story of Purim. So what's the difference in these 3 different times? So Matan Torah, they were forced in a way. The Jewish nation, the Gemara says, that God put a mountain over their heads. And he said, if you accept upon yourself the Torah, good. If not, see you another time. And they said Nasav and Ishma. They said we will do and we'll listen. The time, that was God's force. That's why you had the golden calf, because you can't force a Jew to do anything. And then you had the story of Haman, which is again a force not by God in an open way, but in a story of Haman, a Rasha, who, as we say in the Haggadah, in every generation there are those who get up to destroy the Jewish people, try to destroy the Jewish people. And the Jewish people go on Mesiras Nefesh. The Jewish people go on self-sacrifice to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not to give up. And you should realize the story of Purim was a year story. It started off in Adar, and it ended the next Adar. Even though the victory happened very quickly, because he made a lottery in Adar, and he got the permission to kill the Jewish people very quickly from the Achashverosh, and they send out telegrams that in the next year, on the 13th or 14th day, the 13th and 14th day of Adar, they're going to kill all the Jewish people. And the story of Esther going to Achashverosh happened on Pesach, after the lottery. Night of Pesach was the story, first and second night of Pesach, when Esther invites Haman and Achashverosh to the party, and the real miracle happens on the night of Pesach. So when it says Ba'alayla, when it says on that night, the Pharaoh woke up, he was woken up at night. That happened Pesach by night, the first night of Pesach. What happened the first night of Pesach? Leil Shemurim, and God is protecting the Jewish people. But ultimately, as you read the Megillah, God, the king could not rescind his decree. And the decree over the Jewish nation was until the next year. For a whole year, the Jews were under great scare of annihilation, because the decree was to annihilate every Jew, and ultimately the Jews had to stick up for themselves. So as you read the Megillah, and the 3rd and the 14th and 15th day of Adar, they went out to war with their neighbors, and as you see, they killed those who wanted to kill them, and they killed them both days on the 15th day, and that's why the 14th and the 15th day is a yontiv by Yidden. That means for an entire year, the Jewish people were Mesiras Nefesh. They had self-sacrifice. They could have all dropped everything and ran for their lives, but they didn't. They stayed. They were Mesiras Nefesh and ready to be Mesiras Nefesh for who they were, and not give up anything that they were told by Mordechai to do. And that is Mesiras Nefesh. But really, the real Mesiras Nefesh happened after the story. Once the 14th and 15th day Purim happened, and then it was established as a yontiv v'kibul Yehudim Mesiras Nefesh in a time of not under duress, but acceptance, in a time of success, in a time of bounty, so to say, in a time of happiness, that the Yidden will still had Mesiras Nefesh, still had self-sacrifice to accept upon themselves what they usually what they accepted, what they took upon themselves at the giving of the Torah. I gave everybody a piece of paper here. To those that are on Zoom, I'm going to share with you this piece of paper.
Give me 3.
I gave it out. I don't know. It was over there. I'm going to share it on the Zoom, so you'll see the piece of paper that I'm sharing. Okay. See the whole piece of paper? You guys see the whole sheet? Okay. So I'm going to share you this piece of paper. And this piece of paper is, you have in front of you, you have the name of God. Yud, K, Vav, K. This is the name of the Eibishter. The way God's name, the tetragram, the name that is written but not said, right? Yud Kei Vav Kei, we say Adonai instead of the name of God. Yud Kei Vav Kei is the four names of the God, which the Rambam, Maimonides explains, stands for Hoya, Hoiva, Ve'iyah, that is, was, and will be all at one time, which is hard for any human being to comprehend. But everything in Torah is all in this name, in this four letters of the name of God. And all the other 72 names which you hear is all based on these four letters, the way these four letters are written, the way they are in grammar, in numerical value, etc. These are the four basic concepts in creation. The Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. What's fascinating is that they are not mentioned in the Megillah. It's the only part of Tanakh, only part of the Tanakh that doesn't mention God's name. That's a fascinating thing, that they wouldn't write the name of God in the Megillah. In the whole story, there's not the name of God. And Chassidus explains, because there are many reasons to that, but Chassidus explains that the reason why God's name is not mentioned is because actually in the non-mention of God's name is shows you that a Yid connects the Eibishter to the natural forces of life, not in mentioning, because if you mention God's name, that means God is imposed on the nature, on the natural world. The story of Purim is the ultimate revelation where God and nature come together, when the story and God's name are one entity. So we don't have to have God's name written on the story, because the story is a revelation of God. That is, I'm going to the circle, because that is the last concept of Mesiras Nefesh, of self-sacrifice. Not that you have something interposing upon a Jew, whether it's God or a Haman out there that forces himself upon a Jew to be Meiser Nefesh, to have self-sacrifice. But the Jew has self-sacrifice from himself. He doesn't have self-sacrifice because somebody is forcing him to have self-sacrifice. Everything is good by him. Everything is wonderful. It's a wonderful world out there. But nevertheless, I'm gonna put my nefesh, my soul in a certain kind of a way. The truth is, Mesiras Nefesh, most of us mean, what is Mesiras Nefesh? How are you trying to say Mesiras Nefesh? Self-sacrifice. Well, what usually it means? What does it usually mean when you say Mesiras Nefesh? It means a Jew is ready to go to die. That's how we translate Mesiras Nefesh. That a Jew is ready to die. The truth is, Mesiras Nefesh, the simple meaning of Mesiras Nefesh is self-sacrifice of the soul. Not the goof, it's the soul. Right? So, no, because the soul lives on. So the soul is never sacrificed. The soul is not sacrificed. It's a sacrifice for the soul. Mesiras Nefesh is a sacrifice for the soul. We're ready to give up our goof for the sake of the soul. So there are three ways you can ready to be going Mesiras Nefesh. There's a way where God forces himself upon you, so to say. Reveals himself. Revelation. When God reveals himself, every person is gonna be soul over body. There's not gonna be a situation where it's not gonna be, right? That's what we learned in Tanya today. When the Eibishter revealed himself to the Jewish nation on Mount Torah, what happened? They died. Because a revelation of God forcing himself upon the body breaks itself. The body gives in. So the physical loses its identity. You have the concept of, again, an outside entity going to attack a Jew, to go against a Yid, the Hamans of the generations, who go out and want to destroy Yiddishkeit. And then Yidden wake up, right? When you push a Jew to the corner, he wakes up and he's ready to go out and give up his life. He's ready to give up again. He's ready to give up his body. He's ready to give up his life. He goes Mesiras Nefesh. Jews went on Mesiras Nefesh. They were burned at stake. The pogroms, Hitler, Machshamai, Jews died for the sake of who they were. And then you have Mesiras Nefesh is not that level. The Mesiras of not the Guf. The Guf, Baruch Hashem, is good. And nobody's out to attack you. God is not forcing you. Not the guy out there is forcing you to be somebody who you're not. You yourself realize you need to give up on your mundane concepts in life. And even the mundane concepts are not bad. The vanities of life, the physicalities of life, they're not important to you. Not because somebody is taking it away from you, not because God wants to take it away from you. You yourself want to take it away from yourself. That is the gullus what we're in. That was happened when the Jewish people, after Purim, and they survived the Haman, they were still under Achashverosh. They were still in gullus like today. They were still in exile, but they were free. Given their freedom. They were given not only their freedom, they're given the rights to go against those who wanted to kill them. And nevertheless, the Jewish people continued. That's the Chachma. The Chachma to be a Jew in a time of Tsar is not a Chachma. Because that's when your neshama is revealed. That's when you are forced to know the truth. All your veneer, everything is taken away from you. Your physicality is taken away from you. So what do you have? That's all you have is soul. No Jew should be under such situations ever again, right? So today, Baruch Hashem, we can have all the luxus, all the physical trappings, and nevertheless, in all these physical trappings, we could still be Yidden and still live a life of a soul. That is true Mesiras Nefesh. That is true self-sacrifice. That's the Megillah. That's why the Megillah will never be taken away from us. Because the Megillah is the revelation of true concept of who we are, who not under duress, but under tranquility. Even this gullus, that's a tranquil gullus. And still, we have betachin in the Eibishter. Even though seemingly the world has given us everything and you can be seemingly successful on your own two legs. No, a Yid never loses his betachin in the Eibishter. Never loses the name, the Eibishter in his life. And that's true Mesiras Nefesh. So that's why this generation is going to bring Mashiach, the Rebbe says. Not the generations of Tsaris, not the generations that lived through pain and suffering, and which Jews lived thousands of years through. We're on the shoulders of that generation. They did Mesiras Nefesh Beguf. They did self-sacrifice with their physical body. So they in essence, whatever they went through, Hashem Yimkum Damam, as you say, God should avenge their blood, that they were forced and they were murdered because who they were. And they never said, I'm going to change my who I am just for the sake of living. They gave their lives. Our grandparents and some of our parents maybe gave their lives from Mesiras Nefesh. Today we are, but they gave their lives. Ultimately, they died. They were murdered. We give our lives in the living. We have an opportunity to be Mesiras Nefesh and not only give our life when we die, but to live. We have to have Mesiras Nefesh. We have to have self-sacrifice to live a godly life. And it's much harder today to live a godly life than to live a godly life under duress. We have Mesiras Nefesh. We really have self-sacrifice today. And Baruch Hashem, we can relive the holiday of Purim every year and Pesach, etc. We can live all these holidays of redemption in a real time and space situation. Today, ourselves, through our own going out of exile, through our own going out of our physical veneers and all the shtusim v'avolim, all this vanity and craziness that is in the world around us. Nobody's forcing us. There's no great Mordechai out there right now. It's our own. We're marching to where we are our own Mordechais and Esthers, my friend. And each and every one of us can be that. That's the name of God. You have in front of you the name of God. And you have in its meaning, Yud Kei Vav Kei. I'm telling you why this was. I really wanted to tell you the bottom, the last paragraph over there. Where do we ultimately find the name of God in the Megillah? Because the name of God is in the Megillah, in a very obscured way, in a cloaked kind of a way. The name of God is in the Megillah, and the name of God is actually twice in the Megillah. One's going forward and one's going backwards, as you'll see. One's in the front of each letters and one to the back, and said by two different people. Two different people, main attraction people in the Megillah, which is Haman and Esther. These two major entities in the Megillah. Esther and two, the villain and the hero. But again, when it comes to Purim, you have to come to a level Adelayada ben Arer Haman leBaruch Mordechai. You have to come to the realization that in the level that we're dealing with, in God's eyes, everything has its purpose. Whether it's the Haman or the Esther or the Mordechai, they all have their purpose. Nothing is more important in a way, right? Because Haman, without the Haman, we wouldn't have Purim. So we have to thank him a little bit. We gotta have the anti. We have to have the villain. We have the great villain, and we have the villainess, Vashti and Zeresh. We got them all. It's a perfect story that has both entities in it, the good guy and the bad guy. But the beauty of Yiddishkeit is that for God, everything has a purpose. The villain and the godly man have both a purpose in the story. And that's why you have to come on Purim, you have to get drunk until you don't know the difference between what is the blessed Mordechai and the cursed Haman. Because in essence, they are both the same.
Well, a little hard to swallow.
Because the real curse, seemingly the Haman, the curse, brought about a great celebration that lasts forever and ever. So that means in that curse was a great simcha, was a great bracha, was a great bracha. And we brought it out. The Yidden brought it out. Not anybody else brought it out. But the Yidden brought out this great simcha. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of the summer. So that's why in the name of God, that's when you look at this paper, you'll see within the name of God, you have everything. In the name of God, Api Chassidus, Api Kabbalah, you have, in the second box, you have Yud stands for God. Hey is the concept of understanding, which within understanding, human understanding, you have the Haman. You have the Haman, which is, that's the struggle, human understanding. And then you have the Vav, which is Mordechai, the Tzaddik. And ultimately you have the Achashverosh's kingdom. You have the Achashverosh in the story too, the Achashverosh. As I mentioned yesterday, Achashverosh, the Gemara says, I don't know what his English name was or his Persian name was. His name in Persia was not Achashverosh. The Megillah calls him Achashverosh. And the Gemara says, why is he called in the Megillah Achashverosh? Because it's Achris Vereshis. It's the end and the beginning. The word stands Achris, the beginning, Acha, is the end. Shverosh, the beginning is God, Shaloi. Achashverosh, the beginning and the end. I mean, Acha is the end and the beginning is all his.
What?
All his. It's all God. Achashverosh stands for God, really. Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh. It stands for the Eibishter, because who makes Achashverosh king over Persia? You should know Achashverosh was not a very, he married well. Achashverosh married well. That's what you should learn. Always marry well. Gemara says, always put your hat on a man should always put his hat on a higher rung. Always marry well. Achashverosh became the king of Persia, not because he was any royalty. He had no royal blood in him. He happened to be the stable boy of the king, two kings before that. And his daughter fell in love with the stable boy and ultimately married this guy Achashverosh. So he married well and became the stable boy, became the king.
He married Vashti.
He married Vashti, was the daughter of Zadan, I think. I don't remember, I forgot the name. You can look that up. And he married the Balshetta's daughter or whatever. He married the daughter, and that's how he became king. So he just married well, smart guy. And he made sure to go after the right girl. And he became king. So Achashverosh was a smart guy, or the Gemara says was a stupid guy. Beautiful. The Rebbe, you listen to the Rebbe's, and the Rebbe last night also said the same thing when I mentioned on Shabbos. And the Rebbe said many things of why the Megillah. I saw yesterday, watched the video yesterday, the Gem video, was the Rebbe said a different reason. Why does the Megillah have to tell us that this drunken guy drank 180 days? And 180 days he got drunk, and then he got drunk even more for 7 more days. And Achashverosh made a party. And why do we need to tell a Yid that whole thing? Why is it important to tell us thousands of years later about this goyish drunkard? And the Rebbe says no. And the last time he said a different thing. He said, I said one thing on Shabbos. The Rebbe said another thing on Motzei Shabbos. And the Rebbe said many times this Fabring, and he always emphasized this story. Why did the Megillah tell us this? And the Rebbe brought him, and he said yesterday, he said, because Achashverosh did what his potential was. Achashverosh, who could have made a 180-day party, didn't make a 179-day party. He made a 180-day party. What's not enough 179 days? 179 days is not enough. No, but he's Achashverosh. Achashverosh can make a 180-day party. And a person needs to learn from Achashverosh. And the Rebbe says, everybody should be Achashverosh. And what's the lesson? Be Achashverosh. Do what you can do. Don't do less than you can do.
And kill your wife?
No, I didn't say that.
That's part of the story.
I did not say that every part of the story. No. That Achashverosh, no, you should know that Achashverosh killed his wife, saved the Jews, the Gemara says. That he killed his wife, saved the Jewish nation. Why? Why did he save the Jewish nation? Because not long after that, he made, no, that's not what killed, that's not saved the Jews. What saved the Jews was that Achashverosh killed his wife, right? In a Meshuggah, he got drunk and he killed his wife. That's not a shocking situation. Drunken people do a lot of crazy things. So he was a drunken state. He killed his wife. And the truth is that the next day when he woke up, he felt bad that he killed his wife. Because again, he wouldn't have been king if without his wife. He wouldn't have been king. That's why we know the Gemara says Achashverosh is not such a smart person. Okay? Because basically he became king because of his wife. So now he goes in Meshuggah, he gets drunk like a drunken Meshuggah, and he goes and kills his wife. But the question is, why did he do that for? Why did the Megillah tell us that? Because when he gave out the decree to go and kill the Jews, the Goyim said, this guy's a Meshuggah. This guy's a Meshuggah. He goes and kills his own wife. The guy's a lunatic. He's going to give a decree today to kill all the Jews, and tomorrow he's going to give a decree to kill the Leisvas. So therefore, why did the Goyim wait a whole year to kill the Jews? Why start killing the Jews right away? If you're going to kill, you can kill the Jews a year later. So why not start today? Yeah. So they didn't do it. Why? Because they thought the guy was Meshuggah. That was crazy. That he killed his wife is part of the story. Thank God he killed his wife. So then when it came out of the decree a couple of years later, it was a couple of years later, when they came out of the decree, actually 9 years later, they still thought he was a Looney Tune. And they didn't listen to the decree. They said it's a Baba Meister. Tomorrow he's going to come out with another decree. Part of the story. But what the beauty over here is the Rebbe the Rebbe in the Maimah, I'm sorry, the Maimah, I'm learning something different. My mother. So Rebbe writes, that Haman, Haman is the evil guy. Achashverosh Mordechai is the righteous guy. But in this tetragram over here, Haman is higher than Mordechai. We have God, we have Haman, and then we have Mordechai. Vav is actually the higher letter. In Kabbalah, the first two letters of the name of God is higher than the next two letters of the name of God. Because you should know wickedness comes from a higher place than even righteousness, right? It says, since we learn that wickedness comes from the world of toyu, the world of contradiction, the world of the confusion, and a tzaddik, a righteous man, comes from the world of tikkun, the world of normality. That's why the truth is a tzaddik doesn't deal with a rasha. A tzaddik, a righteous man, doesn't deal with the wicked man. Who deals with a wicked man? And Haman. A tzaddik doesn't understand Haman. We understand Haman very well. Because just like Haman went against God, we go against God too. We all have a little bit of Haman in us. Go to the last paragraph. Where is God's name in the Torah? In the Megillah, I mean. In the Megillah. Where is God's name in the Megillah? So God's name is in the Megillah, the Gemara says. When Esther comes again, so Esther comes to Achashverosh on Erev Pesach, right? The first day of Pesach, she invites the king to the party. She says, Yavai Hamelech v'Haman Hayom. She says, let the king and Haman come today. If you take the first letters of each word, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. There you have the name of God. Right in those four words, Yavai Hamelech v'Haman Hayom. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. We have the name of God. And then you have the statement of Haman. You see? Haman comes back after the first day of the party, right? You'll hear the story, if you remember the story. He comes back after the first night of the party. He says, wow, I was invited to the queen and the king, blah, blah, blah. But he says, Zeh einena shavali. But all this glory has no worth to me. Because there's Mordechai. There's this Mordechai over here. What do I do? And his wife says, build a gallows, right? You take Zeh einena shavali, take the last words of those four letters backwards. You have it in front of you. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. So you have the two names of God. One going forward, one going backwards. Going forward, one going backwards. Zeh einena shavali. This has no fight. This is worthless to me. And you have God's name in the back. Why? Because the truth is, Zeh einena shavali. This is worthless. The Haman even agrees that this is all worthless. Right? All this glory is worthless. I'm the advisor to the king. I have all the power. Everybody has to bow down to me. Look at all this physical trappings. Einena shavali. It has no value to me. It's all worthless. That's with the Haman, and he doesn't realize that he has God's name in that statement. In his statement, he has God's name going backwards. Are you guys on Zoom seeing that? I hope you are. Powerful concept. So you have God's name. So both of these entities, Haman and Esther, both mention God in their statements. In their statements, they both mention God. Esther, you should just realize when Esther comes before Achashverosh, especially in the Gemara, Esther comes to Achashverosh. I can go off to stop the share. After Esther comes to Achashverosh, it's a very big danger to her. She says that I can be put to death. And she was, you learned the Gemara there. She was actually, if it wasn't that Achashverosh reached out to her, his scepter, whatever, she was, according to the law of the country, was supposed to be put to death because she was not allowed to come to the king. It was against the law of the country. I don't know what kind of laws they have, but it was against the law of the country to come. She went to Mesilas Nefesh, and to invite the king was an amazing accomplishment on her, that she went and invited the king and Haman to this party, to come to the Seder. In essence, she invited them to come to the Seder, So she expresses herself. That's why you look in the Gemara. There, at that moment, Yaveh Melech Haman. That's when the nest starts. The miracle starts when she invites him. I don't know how she came up with that idea to invite the king and Haman to a party. What was she gonna accomplish? Bringing them together. Why would she bring them together? These two anti-Semites. The Gemara is arguing who was a bigger anti-Semite, Haman or Achashverosh, who was bigger hater of Jews. They were both hater of Jews. Now she's going to tell them, you both hate Jews and I'm a Jew. Both hate Jews, I'm a Jew. Now the question is, how would the Eibishter respond? How would the Melech, how would Achashverosh respond to that statement? He's been married to a Jew for the last 5 years, right? He's married to a Jew for the last 5 years. 5 years. It's a 12th year. It's a 12th year of his kingdom, and he got married to her in the 7th year of his kingdom.
Yeah.
5 years. So he's married to her for 5 years. This is his queen for 5 years, and he asked her who she's from, but she doesn't want to tell him. And tonight, Shalom Aleichem, she tells him, I'm a Jew. Now, how imagine this guy who hates Jews, and his second-hand man is a known hater of Jews, and now the queen is standing there. This guy kills people for lesser infractions than this. Truth is, that is the greatest miracle. That's why in these 4 words, you have the name of the Eibishter here, where she went a total Mesilas Nefesh to the Eibishter for God. And that's why in these 4 letters is the name of the Eibishter in these 4 letters, Dafka in these 4 letters. So you have the name of God in these 4 letters. But ultimately, the name of God is in the Megillah in a very concealed way. And it's the name of God is not only by the statement of Esther, but it's also by the statement of Haman. It's also, but just the backwards, goes the back way. It doesn't come in a straight way. That's the difference in the Olam HaTikkun and the Olam HaToyu. That's the difference in the way. In Tikkun, the word is in a normal fashion. The name of God comes out and revealed in a very normal way. If everybody, you could have realized that on your own. If you know Hebrew well and you're reading the Megillah, you can see that name of God openly in the Megillah. But in the statement of Haman, it's really in a backwards way. It's harder to realize the name of God in that kind of fashion. But ultimately, what the point is, ultimately that that Megillah, in all aspects of our life, in our natural way of life, in the story of a natural story, to be able to go Mesilas Nefesh, even Jews going on Mesilas Nefesh, in normal day-to-day life, and Esther going on Mesilas Nefesh to reveal godliness in the world, is what's important, is ultimately our service. To be able to go on Mesilas Nefesh, to be able to go on self-sacrifice in a situation that is not endangering anybody, in a tranquil situation, to be able to accept on ourselves the yoke of heaven and to have emunas Hashem, the trust of God in our life. Yeah, you want to say something, Yocheved? So that was my 50-minute introduction.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. That's why the Rebbe says really the whole holiday is called Purim, Al Shem HaPur. The whole holiday is seemingly a chance situation, a lottery situation. A lottery situation, which is seemingly a chance situation, right? Because that's a lottery. Everybody believes that a lottery, you win the lottery, then you won it by chance. It is not something that you did anything for, you won it by chance. But a Jew understands that there's no such a thing as chance. Yom Kippurim, that the connection between Purim and Yom Kippur, that there's nothing there's nothing by chance. Nothing happens. We have to have Yom Kippur to forgive on our sins because not sins happen by chance. Nothing happens by chance. Even unintentional sins doesn't happen by chance. It's because we're in a certain situation, or we put ourselves in this situation that brings us to Chas v'Shalom, God forbid, to sin, or our victories, Yom Purim, our celebrations, our redemptions, and our salvation is also not by chance, but it is by the Avodah, is the service of the Yid. It doesn't happen by chance. In the world, the Haman chooses others seemingly by chance. By him, he thinks it's all a chance. It's all a put. It's a lottery. Maybe this is going to happen. Maybe it's a good month. Maybe it's not. But by Yid, that happened exactly that time, and that everything happens in the world is all connected to the Eibush, all connected to the name of God. So to connect it, to bring it down to now, to learn something in this book, as my time comes to an end. So he says the same thing. He say in a different way. He says that's why everything, just like in life and death, you're not allowed to leave it up. Say, I'm going to put it in God's hand. But the Eibishter wants to work the world through nature. So we're holding on page 7 and page 8. He says, just like we have said regarding life and death, that a person is obligated to be concerned about his life and distance himself from danger, so too with regard to a person's obligation to pursue means remaining healthy, the means to obtain food, clothing, shelter, and positive character traits, and to distance oneself, to stand away and to distance those things that stand in the way of his obtaining these things is our responsibility. Self-understood that our successes and our capabilities is from the Eibishter, but the Eibishter, God works through nature. And God will not work his miracles if a Yid is not going to do his avodah, if he's not going to do his service, and not go in his own Mesilas Nefesh. It doesn't work that way. You cannot sit at home or even pray and think things are going to happen. Prayer it needs a vessel. Anything in life needs a vessel, needs to have human participation. And if you're not going to participate to eat healthy, you're going to be a sick person. And if you're going to eat unhealthy things, you're going to be a sick person. And all your emunas Hashem is not going to help you. Because the Eibishter works through nature. That's the way God works through. That's I said, that's the story of Purim. The Eibishter works through the natural forces of life. These efforts are necessary despite a person's strong conviction that these means do not help him whatsoever. Were it not the Creator, may he be blessed, who decreed such. So why is certain foods healthy and certain foods unhealthy? Because that's what the Eibishter put in the world. Who made certain foods healthy and certain foods unhealthy? Who made the Mordechai and the Haman? It's the Mordechai and the Haman in humans, or the Mordechai and the Haman in the foods that you eat? Who created that? The Eibishter created the Haman. The Eibishter created, God created unhealthy things to eat, unhealthy things to digest, or having an evil character trait, whether it's anger, jealousy, whatever the trait might be. Who gave you that trait? I went and bought it in the store. Who was given that? Who gave us weaknesses in ourselves? Whether we're weak people, weakly minded people, weakly emotionally people. The Eibishter gave it to us. Why would you think God would give you? Why would God put in the world things that are not good for people to eat? Things that are not good for people to live by? Because that's where you come into. If God would put you in Gan Eden, where you have no issues, then what? There would be all robots. Would be physically robots. The Eibishter put us in the world where there's going to be all the Haman, the enticements of the world. Now, let's see, can you overcome it? Give you all the capabilities to overcome it. I'm going to give you, just like I gave you all the enticements in the world, I'm going to give you all the tools to overcome it. So I created the negative and I created the positive. Naturally, from the negative, you're going to uplift everything. Overcoming the negative is going to uplift you, even your positive. Because then you're going to see that you're positive, you're not doing it because somebody told you to do it. You're doing even the positive because you're doing it because you are in control of that. That's the difference between a tzaddik and us. A tzaddik cannot do negative because he doesn't want to do negative. He just can't do it. Think of myself, not that I'm a tzaddik, but we all have talked ourselves into certain things, right? So I want to eat non-kosher, not because I'm a tzaddik. I've talked to myself and I want to eat. If you're going to give me a non-kosher thing to eat, then I'll eat it. By mistake, I'll throw up. I haven't tried it, but I'm sure I would feel would have some kind of a disgusting thing to me, right? That's not a challenge. To me, it's not a challenge to eat kosher. I won't eat non-kosher. Not because I'm far from a righteous person, but I basically I'm righteous in that aspect because I've established that fact. That's it. You're not going to get me to entice me to eat non-kosher. You're not going to convince me. Let's come to the most famous restaurant and let's have the most famous. I'm not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And we all have that in our lives, Baruch Hashem, with certain things that just, we're not going to do it, like murder. You're not going to do it. So we're all tzaddikim to murder, hopefully. Right? You're not going to do it. It's a disgusting thing. You hear murder, you become disgusted from it. You think it's a boring thing. You think it's a disgusting thing, killing people. It's just not a good thing. To a murderer, actually, he gets his, you go listen to psychologists, they say, murderers get a thrill. It's a thrill. They get a certain type. They get a certain kind of adrenaline. So who gave them that? Gave them that. Who gave them that? You have to. I should thank God they didn't give me that. That kind of adrenaline.
Yeah,
Adrenaline to murder. No, you have to rush. Whatever, they get some kind of rush. I don't know. So an adrenaline rush. So right. So yeah, they get this excitement. They get excitement. A ganif, a kleptomaniac, that's a ganif, he gets an excitement in his geneva. It's an excitement. It's a thrill. Right? The harder the geneva, the better the thrill. He's not looking for an easy geneva, he's looking for a good one. He's looking for a good ganif, a good geneva. That he has to use his brains, right? Doesn't want to have. There's a famous statement of made of Plashlan. It says there's 7 things you can learn from a ganif. There's 7 good traits you can learn from a ganif, right? Right? Because if nobody hears a career ganif, hopefully, right? But a ganif, the Gemara says a ganif prays before he prays to God that he should be successful in his geneva. He prays to God. He wishes to God, please help me out. That it's going to be a successful day, right? That's right. Because why? you should know that when the Torah says, I've said this many times, the Torah says, don't kill, don't steal, don't do adultery. Everybody has that capacity. Don't be, I'm so holy. A tzaddik doesn't have that capacity. He doesn't have a desire to any Aveda. It's not that he has a desire that he has to overcome. He doesn't have the desire. He has no interest. He has no interest in anything in these of the physical situation. We do. We have these certain tendencies, deficiencies, whatever you want to call it. But you know what? Through these deficiencies, we prove who we really are. We bring out what?
Proclivities.
Okay, I don't know. Two.
Our proclivities
Our
are
inclination.
That which we are drawn to.
Right, we're drawn to. So whether we have
Our tivers. Our tivers.
a simple taiva, we're all bali taivas. We're all bali taivas. We all have a taiva, whether it's with certain A, B, or C, or D. And there's a lot of God is an equal opportunity taiva giver, and he gives everybody their taivas that they have, and you cannot diminish somebody else's taivas. You can't say your taiva is nothing, my taiva is something. That's why it says when two Jews get together, you have two Yetzer Tov against the evil inclination. But why is not two against two? Why is not two against two? It says two against one. Why is not two against two? Because my Yetzer Hara doesn't like your Yetzer Hara. See, my Yetzer Hara says your Yetzer Hara is worse, right? Your taivas are my taivas are nothing. The garnish, my desires, my evil is nothing. Your evil is what really evil is. So our Yetzer Tov gets together, but our evil inclination doesn't. They don't get together. They don't like each other. They like to. My Yetzer Hara says your Yetzer Hara is worse than him, right? That because that's the way my Yetzer Hara says. Because my Yetzer Hara says it's not so bad.
Yeah.
We're pretty good. We're pretty good. We're not bad. We're doing good. We're doing good, right? What we're doing? What's your problem? We're doing phenomenal. Or my Yetzer Hara says we're better than the other guy. This is so bad. We're better. That guy. We're 3 or 4. That Rebbe said yesterday in the video. We're 3 or 4 times better. Why do I need to go 100%? I'm 3 or 4 times better than you. So therefore, I don't have to do my potential because I'm better than you. That's my Yetzer Hara. My Yetzer Hara said, well, don't overdo it. Better than somebody else. We can find in the world where we're going to be better than somebody else, or that person's worse than us. That's why we love to hear when somebody does something bad. We love it, right? Especially somebody who we had in high esteem. Now we caught the Rav. Oh, that's the best guy to catch. That is a rabbi sinned. Oh, very. Now everybody feels great, right? Everybody feels good, right? That's a machaya. Why do you feel you should be crying? That no, but we feel good, right? Because the rabbi gets in. So then, for surely, what do you want for my sins? He's this holy guy. So therefore, I'm not holy. Okay, so right now, there's stop that right now. No excuses about me.
Evil things occurring on TV that involve a yid, it makes me sick. Because I question, how could this person...
No, because he has a Yetzer Hara. Because he has a Yetzer Hara. He has a Yetzer Hara like anybody else. Everybody has their Yetzer Hara, and everybody has their challenges in life. Whether he's a rabbi, whether he's a layman, we all have a Yetzer Hara. And his evil is not better or worse than my evil. And it's all Narishkeit. It's all basically my own Yetzer Hara doing somebody else's evil. I have the same evil. But we get some excitement from that when somebody else, especially when it comes public, that, we found somebody else who has negative. What did it help? So the Gemara says it's a sad thing. When we're inside and we find somebody else is inside, we suddenly feel better. That's going to help you. But we have a flawed character trait that when we find that somebody else is bad, I feel good now. I'm not the only one who's bad. That helps your badness because somebody else is inside us. Why would that make it? Why should that make you happy? So now misery loves company. But that's a sad thing. That's a sad thing. You should, if a person is in pain, you should say, oh, now somebody else is in pain. Why should that happen? Why should somebody else be in pain like I'm in pain? But it's not, the Gemara says it's not that way. It's a chatz in a chum. It's like almost a half of consolation. Oh, somebody else is in pain. There's other tzaddis in the world. I'm
Maybe
sad.
my stories are not so bad like this.
There we should be no tzaddis in the world. That should be the prayer. No tzaddis. Big, small, medium, no tzaddis. Enough with tzaddis in the world. Enough with tzaddis and enough with pain in the world. Why do we need any more pain in the world? Big or small? There's no thing as big or small. No big or small. Every person is a big thing to that person. It might be small to me, but it's big to him. That's that. We need to realize that this concept. We have to have emunah in the Eibishter. We have to have faith in the Eibishter. We have to believe that God is involved, and the only way at the same moment, the only way we can rectify it is by changing ourselves. It's by working on ourselves. It's not going to happen on its own. It will not happen on its own. And the only person who can fix ourselves is ourselves. That's the story again of the Megillah. Not God can fix you, and not the Haman out there can fix you. Nobody can fix himself but himself. He can get help, he can get advice, but nobody can fix themselves but himself. That's the way it is. Okay, we'll end this off. I will end this off. Wait, this is never ending. Okay, here's an example. A landowner must plow his land, cleaning its thorns, sow it, irrigate it. If water becomes available to him, irrigate it. If the water becomes, at the same time, he must rely on the Creator. May he be blessed to bring forth the produce from the ground. But if you're not going to plow, you're not going to water it, it's not going to grow. Your prayers are going to go to no place. So you need to plow the ground. You need to water the ground. You need to fertilize the tree. You need to do avodim, right? So to protect him, why? So you must then, because even though he does everything, there can be plagues, there can be other outer forces that are going to attack this tree. So therefore, I got to do mine, and then I got to pray to God, that the outer forces should not come. Yeah. That's not in my way. How am I going to control the outer forces? I can't control that. That's where my prayer comes into reality. I'm praying to God that's out of my control, that they should to make sure that what's out of my control is in control. What's in my control, I gotta put full total effort in my control. What's out of my control, that I'm gonna pray to God to make sure that they're able to make sure things that are out of my control will not affect me, will not chas v'shalom do something negative to me. And that's beautiful. You must not forsake the land without working or without sowing it, relying on the decree of the Creator that the land will sprout forth vegetation without His preserve. So it's not happening. The principle applies to other types of craftsmen, merchants, and paid workers that are obligated to pursue their livelihood, while the saints are relying on God that the sustenance is in His hands and control, and that He can be responsible to provide the person with his livelihood. That's what I always say. The Baal Shem Tov said, if you're fired from a job, that's the greatest sign that God has a better job for you.
Hooray! Yeah.
That's it, right? The Abish, you have to get fired, right? You're doing your best, and the Abish fired you, or the person fired you, or your boss fired you. Why? Because you didn't realize the Abish has something better. You thought, oh, Machaya, I'm doing with this. I'm going to give you something better. I have to push and fire you to get you a better situation. But also, the concept of the Eibishter puts you in an Aveda, or the Eibishter makes you chas shom sick to bring you out to a greater situation. You're going to come out healthier. You're going to realize that you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Right? Imagine if we do negative things and we wouldn't have a repercussion. So there are certain things in life. It's called a silent death. What do they call it? It's a secret killer, right? Like high blood pressure. You don't, you one day have a stroke. You don't realize you have high blood. You don't feel they have high blood pressure or not. Or diabetes, I think, is what is the name
There's a
of it?
lot of different,
So there are certain things you don't know. You don't know. You don't. Why don't you know that you have it? There are certain things you don't have it. You don't even have it. You don't have it. Boom.
You're done.
You're done. So Baruch Hashem, the Eibishter makes you, gives you the sickness that you know what's happening, and now you can fix it, Baruch Hashem, and then change your ways. Imagine a person goes and keeps on doing the same. You never should do the same mistake. Every person does a mistake. Never do the same mistake. Then you're an idiot. You're a fool. To do the same mistake, then you're a fool. Right? Every person makes mistakes, but once you fix the mistake, you realize the mistake, you get at it. Why would you do the same thing again and again and again? We're not stubborn, we're foolish because we're hurting ourselves. We're hurting ourselves. So why would you do something foolish? Why would you do something foolish? The point of falling is for the sake of uplifting oneself. And that's why we fell, to make one step back, to do 2 steps forward, not to take 1 step back again and again and again and again. Okay, we'll complete this. We'll continue. I tell you, I want to wish you all a happy Purim. I want to thank Rabbi Klugman for bringing this wonderful gift for me and for everybody. If you want to pick up your own, if you want to look at it, oh, I feel bad for you. And pick up a mug given by Rabbi Elliot Klugman, and you have, and then you can look out, and then you can look at my numbers every day of your life. How lucky you people are! And but I want to thank Elliot for this beautiful cup for my birthday. L'chaim, l'chaim. God give you a long life, and may all the coffee in this cup be delicious. Have a wonderful.
Amen.
Happy and healthy day. Happy Purim to everybody. I hope I'll see you over Purim in a happy and healthy way. Dressed up. Make sure you come dressed up on Wednesday night for Purim. All adults, I want to see you dressed. I don't want to be the only one who's dressed up like a Meshuggah. Everybody else has to be dressed up.
Rabbi, don't worry.
Have a beautiful, happy, healthy day, everybody. See you tomorrow for Chitas. Have a wonderful day, everybody. How
Another box.
And I look at my
many cups did you bring over?